And people who've fallen victim to that sort of propaganda are going to be frightened. They're going to pick up the phone, call 911, say man with a gun. And of course the cops can't, and the dispatchers can't just tell them, well, hey, it's legal to carry a gun, because they've got a frightened citizen who's saying man with a gun, and they don't know what's going on. They have to send officers to check it out. Now there's, at best, a waste of, taxpayer-paid police time, possibility of hard feelings on the part of the private citizen who is carrying the gun, because he has a lot of ego invested in being a good guy, and may not realize that the officers have to treat him as a suspect until they've sorted it out and know who he is. So the open carry movement has not gained a great deal of momentum nationwide. Concealed carry licensing and reform legislation, on the other hand, in the last 20 years has been one of the great advances in gun owners' civil rights. Starting in the late 1980s in Florida, when before the permits were, it was what was called shall issue licensing, which means the issuing authority can give it to you if they feel like it. And in many, many jurisdictions, and it's still so today, shall issue licensing has become kind of a code for, we'll give you the permit to carry the gun if you are white, male, wealthy, and politically connected. What happened with the reform legislation in Florida that started the snowball rolling was the shall issue legislation, a law that stated once you've done the criminal record character background check and determined basic safety and competence, you have to issue this person the license to carry a loaded concealed gun in public to protect himself or herself and their family. That has caught on nationwide. We are well over half of the states, 30-some of the states now, have shall issue licensing. 48 of the 50 states have some provision for private citizens to get a permit to carry a gun in public. And that's why I say I think that has been the site of the strongest victories for gun owners' civil rights in the last 20 years in this country now.
Do you think a compromise might be in order? Like, I don't know, there might be states that do compromise this. If you are going to open carry, you might have to have a permit, maybe at least pass some sort of test as far as the...
Yeah, and there are some states where that's true. There are at least 2 states I can think of that only allow the open carry privilege to those who have the concealed carry permit, simply because they have been vetted and checked out.
Sure, with the background and all. I agree with that.
The problem is you don't wear the concealed carry permit, on your shirt like a hunting license in the woods. And someone who sees the gun, you're back to square one. It's man with a gun. Now, I personally believe in the open carry laws. I think there are at least 2 reasons why it should be legal for law-abiding citizens everywhere. Number one, if in hot weather someone inadvertently leaves their coat in their car, or in the windy day, the coat is blown back and reveals the gun. The legality of open carry would keep that person from being charged with, criminal threatening or brandishing or something like that. Second, it takes a while to get the concealed carry permit. It's not at all uncommon for it to take 90 days and sometimes longer. In some states, you have to be a resident there for at least 6 months before you can apply for the permit there. And for the person who's just moved into a state, or perhaps the person who didn't want to carry before, but suddenly has a fast-breaking, life-threatening emergency, the person who realizes they've become a stalking victim, for example, in the 90 days it might take them to get the permit to carry, I'd like to see a provision in place that they can get some training and buy themselves a handgun and carry the thing to protect themselves right now. So for those 2 reasons alone, I do support open carry legislation. I just think it needs to be used really, really sparingly.
Do you think the rise in the crime rates around the nation has something to do with people wanting to carry a firearm?
I think an awareness of violent crime is definitely a part of it. The other thing is we've had the 20 years of collective experience that has shown not only does concealed carry not increase the number of violent incidents, but it seems to actually reduce violent crime according to many of the studies.
that's because you really don't know who might have a firearm and who might not. The little man that's walking his dog at 11 o'clock at night might have a little automatic.
Exactly. It's biology 101, Don. Predators seek prey. If they have a reason to believe the creature they're stalking has fangs and claws of its own, they tend to go elsewhere or decide to become a herbivore instead of a carnivore.
Good analogy.
We have a test case going on in Ohio right now, sir, that excellent above-board police department, excellent reputation in the state, and on a public highway, concealed carry. Probably the call was generated by, or not concealed carry, open carry. Call was probably generated by somebody that was involved in the scheme, if you will, and it's working its way through the courts now. The officers took the party down to the ground, and of course it was videotaped from an outside source, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You may want to keep an eye on Ohio on that.
Well, without more familiarity with the case, I couldn't comment on it.
Well, there are people that no doubt like the attention and like to tempt the law and saying, they might be having a march and having people videotaping them from afar to see how the police are going to handle it.
There's no question there's a few, and I have to say I think they're a small minority in the open carry area who are attention hounds, and they're doing it for the look at me, I'm special effect. I honestly think the majority of people who support open carry are people who like the idea of being able to quietly, passively demonstrate that, look, y'all as American citizens have a right to protect your families, and I'm standing here kind of showing that to you.
Right. The one thing in Ohio right now, though, is you have to go through so much training to get a concealed carry weapon, to a concealed carry permit, but anybody, no training whatsoever, can buy the gun legally and literally walk down the street with a holster and does not have to go through any kind of training program because it's not written into the law right now.
Well, that may be the case there. It varies state to state. What we have, fellas, is because we are United States, and sometimes states is more an operative term than united, we have a patchwork of 50 pieces in the quilt of 50 different sets of laws. We have more reciprocity than we ever had before, that is, states recognizing certain other states' permits. But we still don't have anything that approaches the universal recognition and reciprocity of, say, a driver's license, a pilot's license, or a commercial trucker's license, or, for that matter, a marriage license.
Massad, we're just scratching the surface, no doubt. And we, as we spoke before the show, it's going to take a long time to get everything in place. And still there's going to be problems, confrontations, no doubt. We'd like to have you back on again. I'll be in touch with you. And we really, really thank you from the OPBA for coming on our show.
Well, thank you. I really like the idea of a show like yours that, lets the cops and the public interact with each other in such a positive way. And I'll look forward to learning more about your group.
And we'll get you on next time when we take more phone calls for you. We'll get some phone calls for you, too.
Thanks much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Captain Massad Ayoob, I want to get that right, joining us on Call the Cops on WHK. And